Rockaways Productions presents The Casey Waters Show, Episode 528, Life Management. Hello, I'm your host, Casey Waters. Today, I will continue with We Are All One. Here, I look at the possibility that we are all part of one greater being and what the implications of this might be as far as empathy and other things. Also, I look at the possibility that we are living in some sort of simulation. Then it's on to life management. Here, I look at life management skills such as avoiding disillusionment, exercise, and other ways to maintain health. There are finches nearby. They might be scattering about and chirping, making various noises. Today's show will feature background footage from Catawba Falls. Catawba Falls is located in Old Fort, North Carolina. This trail has gone through major renovations over the last few years. If you haven't been there in a long time, it's worth the trip. Sure, they have added a spectacular new staircase that goes up alongside of the waterfall, an area that was previously inaccessible. The stairway starts at the bottom of the waterfalls. It goes up a ways. Then the stairway turns into a tower. You go up to the top of the tower and there's a viewing platform. Now you're about 2/3 the way up. But then the stairs keep going on beyond that. And you keep going parallel to the waterfall until you're past the top of the waterfall. But then a quarter mile past that is another waterfall. A smaller one, but still quite pretty. To get there from Asheville, North Carolina, take I-40 East. Take the Old Fort exit. Before the end of the ramp, you take a right onto Catawba River Road. Follow Catawba River Road all the way to the end, and that's the trailhead. There's actually two trails. They added a new one. I took the older trail, which goes along the river. This is the trail with all the steps on it going up the waterfall. A good workout indeed, but why not? Go for it, even now, even when I'm 64. So, now let's continue with We Are All One. If everyone's the same, well, then I guess part of me is an evil mass murderer. And I guess part of me is the Pope. And I guess part of me is everything in between. Well, sure, we are all diverse. We have many impulses and emotions, thoughts and feelings. And perhaps we spread through much of the range of humanity as far as what the rest of humanity feels, as far as emotions, perspectives, things like that. And so, as I said, with the imaginary territory, our imaginary territory changes as our morals change. So we change quite a lot, and we might change imaginary territories quite a lot as we live and learn, and as we experience things. experiencing wide ranges of emotions and perspectives. As I said, sharing a lot with the rest of humanity in this regard, able to see and understand things from a lot of people's point of view, although it might be very briefly, or at least for some people, where other people we might see things more often like them. And those people, well, might be in our same imaginary territory, having our same morals, perspectives, judgments, values, and so forth. But what does this all mean? We are all one. Whatever. So what? Well, hold on here. There is some meaning behind it. Sure there is. And, as you can guess, it gets a little religious, or religious-like. Sure, what am I driving at? Well, I'm driving at empathy, compassion, and the like. Sure, if we are all one, well, we need to treat people how we want to be treated. The golden rule is really true if we're all one. We need to treat each other with respect, dignity, kindness, empathy, compassion, and try to be helpful towards each other, instead of being competitive and deceptive and trying to gain advantage over one another. Can't we work together? After all, if we are all one, well, perhaps we should. Perhaps that's the best way to move things forward, is through cooperation. Cooperation amongst diverse people and having diverse opinions, but yet having those opinions heard. So, and having people taken care of, even those who are suffering, disabled, poor, drug addicted, or otherwise disadvantaged. We need to take care of everyone, because we are that homeless person. We are the drug addict. Sure, maybe not literally, but if we're all one, in a sense, they're part of us, and we are part of them. So, if everyone's a part of us, and we are a part of everyone else, well, then, we need to work together. And we need to find common ground, and we need to improve lives for each other. And so, when we get it to it politically, well, President Trump kind of acts like empathy's a bad word. But it's not. It's a Christian word. Well, so much more than a Christian word. It goes through basically all religions, all of humanity, all of us, because we're all one. So we need to get a grip here and have empathy and try to take care of us through better health care that's accessible to the poorest individuals, and better schools. Sure, and be able to accept each other. That is, all of us, of diverse religions, of no religions, people who are independent with a religion, like me, and atheists, and everybody. We all have a voice. We are all equal. We need equal protection under the law, and we need to be treated with respect. All of us. Well, Republicans seem to be leading us down a dark path where empathy might be disappearing, even empathy for our Mother Earth as environmental rules are rolled back and polluters get their way. Well, is that really the best way for America, for the world? And is wealth concentration really going to help us all? Or is it just going to make it harder for the poor people to get health care and other things they need? As I said, we need to have empathy for poor people. We need to have empathy for everybody. We could do better. We could listen to each other, listen to each other's idea. Sure, we need to be kind to one another. For that is really the best way to do things. For after all, we are all one. Now it is time for life management. Here I look at various skills you could employ to improve your life and help you live longer. There are many skills that are involved with life management, and everybody's different. So certain skills are useful for other people, but not so useful for others. And I can't cover them all. I only could cover perhaps a small portion of them. But any of these skills could help you, and you could come up with some of your own. Sure. So, let's look at this. So what's going on here? Well, what's going on here is you need to optimize your life for your enjoyment. Sure, it might sound a little selfish, but it will help you in the long run. It will help with your mental health and perhaps help you live longer and be happier. Sure, you want to enjoy yourself. You don't want to get carried away and do it at the expense of others. But still, that's what life for. Life is for enjoyment. Life is for fun. Life shouldn't all be about work and dedication. Well, all that's very important, but let's have a little fun in there. So, what you want to do in order to have more fun, well, you got to avoid things that make you have less fun. Sure, that's half the battle. It's not just making life fun, but trying to avoid life being less fun. You want to avoid disillusionment, sure, by not taking on too many commitments. You might be under pressure from your family, work, friends, or others to take on too many commitments, and you might get too busy, and that might lead to stress and disillusionment, and perhaps even poor results of things you are working on because you don't have enough time to do them right. So, just avoid it. Gently explain to your family, friends, work, or whoever that sometimes it's hard to do too much and you just need to scale it back a little bit or rearrange things so you'll have time to do the things most important to you. But that might mean less time for other things. You have to balance it out. Our time is limited. This is tricky. Time management. Sure, it's all part of life management. But another thing about this disillusionment is there are certain situations which are well, they are very, I guess, depressing. And especially if you get stuck in one of these situations for a long time, it could really take its toll. So you need a way out, perhaps assistance from other family members, or you might have to avoid the task altogether, or only perform it in a limited way. I guess what I'm talking about is a situation perhaps where you have to care for an elderly parent who has dementia or Alzheimer's. This could be difficult, or perhaps another condition that requires care. Perhaps they're mobility limited and they need assistance with everything from bathing to eating. Well, you love your parents and you want to take care of them. However, this is a big commitment and it might take its toll on you. If you're lucky, you have siblings who could share the burden with you. If not, you might have to limit how much you do with this. You might have to look at other solutions, such as nursing care or living in a retirement community. It's a hard thing to balance, but you got to look out for yourself. You have to help yourself first before you help others. It's just like they say on the airplane. Put on your oxygen mask first before assisting others. Help yourself first before assisting others. Yeah, you got to be able and willing and have a good attitude, in theory, to do everything you need to do. So you don't need to be stressed out, wore out, or excessively disillusioned. And that's what could happen if you take on too many commitments. So you just got to limit yourself. Well, there's other things that could create disillusionment in life. And some of them, well, they might not come to much. Some of the things we worry about the most never come to pass. Or if they do, it's not near as bad as we thought it would be. This has happened to me, I guess, many times, and probably to you. Don't spend too much of your life worrying. It's often not as bad as we think it might be. Sometimes things work out and things are better in the long run. Where we thought it would be disaster, well, perhaps the disaster's not quite as bad. And we could get through it a little easier than we originally thought. And even these situations that talk about where they are disillusioning, well, sometimes they might not be as bad with the proper attitude. Sure. So no matter how you see yourself and how you fit in the world, it is best to have a humble attitude. Sure, realize you're on the planet to serve. You're here to help others, not to get everyone to, help you. You're not here to have a bunch of sycophants. You're here to help others and to get along with everybody as equals. So, one of the things that happens is, well, we might have concern about how we're remembered after we die. Will anyone remember us? Will anyone care? We must leave behind an impressive legacy. We must accomplish a lot in our life, or perhaps our life was simply not worth living. Oh, gee, that sounds so sad. I hope that's not the case. Oh, gee. Well, it all depends what you mean by accomplish a lot, I guess. We all hope to do a lot in our life and make a difference. I guess it's just how much of a difference that is. And when we have less impact than we hope, when we make less of a difference in people's lives than we hoped we would, well, we've got to accept the shortcoming and not get disillusioned by it, but rearrange our attitudes. Perhaps we don't get that great career. Perhaps we don't make that great invention or breakthrough. But perhaps just by living our lives, we might help out a lot of people anyway, regardless of our job or other things we do. We still have our family and friends, and we probably make a big difference in their life. So that gives life meaning, and that's a good thing to be remembered by. Just how you helped your family and friends, and how much they enjoyed you. Because you gotta enjoy yourself. Everybody's gotta have fun. Then you'll be remembered in a good way. It might not be so much how much money you leave behind or what accomplishments you make, but perhaps how much fun you were. Well, I guess they all matter. But we shouldn't get too hung up on it or obsessed with their legacy, because it might not be the way we think it is, and we might have less of a legacy to leave, either in terms of our accomplishments or in terms of our wealth. Well, if we leave behind less, that's okay. We still had a good impact on our family and friends, hopefully. And besides, people are less concerned about that, or at least it's the way it seems. I guess that's the way it is with me. I don't know much about my ancestors in the past. I know a little here and there, but I don't fret and obsess about it or know a tremendous amount of detail. Perhaps the people in the past were more in tune with their ancestors' history, and perhaps people in the future might be less concerned about their ancestors' history. So don't worry too much about your legacy. Instead, move on to other things. Don't forget to have fun. And, well, there's other aspects too. There's your religion and how you see God and your relationship to God. Well, that could play into your life management too, perhaps by making you disillusioned. So you got to be careful here with how you approach things. Okay. Sometimes people with their religion feel it's too daunting and too risky to guide your spiritual life by yourself. You feel you need help from a church, a pastor or priest, fellow churchgoers, or others that could help you in the spiritual realm. Well, that's okay, but there's some pitfalls here that you got to be aware of. Trusting someone to your spiritual health and well-being, it's a big thing. Trusting someone to give you spiritual guidance is a big thing. That's a heavy trust to throw onto somebody, and they just might not come through for you, and you might end up misguided. Sure. I guess it could start in, well, several ways. Perhaps they'll convince you that their sect of their religion is the only sect of any religion that will get into heaven. It's only their branch of Christianity that's going to make it, and no one else will. So perhaps only the Mormons get into heaven. Perhaps only the Catholics. Or maybe only, the Hindus or Buddhists or whoever. But perhaps it's not such an exclusive club. Perhaps all these religions make it to heaven. That's the way I like to see it. And more. Sure, heaven has many rooms. Heaven is a big place, and there's room for all religions. It's not just one religion, or worse yet, just one branch of one religion that's gonna make it. Don't let people convince you otherwise. It could lead to disillusionment. And, well, as I said, just trusting someone for religious guidance could really set you up for pitfalls. They could lead you astray. Perhaps they have a political agenda that they're imposing on you, or even a moral agenda. But they might see the world through a distorted lens, to see the world more as it is, and perhaps to see it the way God sees it. Well, you need to see it how you see it then. You are the eyes of God. The Spirit of God dwells within you. Sure, that's true. We are all part of God. So, we don't need someone as an intermediate between us and God. We don't need someone for spiritual guidance. We could communicate with God directly and get our own spiritual guidance. I know that sounds tricky and difficult, but it might be a little easier than you think. You don't hear the voice of God booming out from the heavens. Well, at least I don't. But as I think about certain more
Casey Waters Show. Producer Casey Waters. Graphic editing Judson Laird. Please note our new email address, CaseyWaters2 at CaseyWaters.com.